Welcome to Multiplication Matters with speaker and author Dr. J.D. Payne. Dr. Payne is the pastor for church multiplication at the Church of Brook Hills in Birmingham, Alabama, and has written several books on the subjects of missions and evangelism. Here's J.D.
One of the things that I would like to draw our attention to in today's episode is something that I've been kind of tracking over the past few years, and every now and then you'll hear something from the media about this particular topic. And then just recently, I came across this article. It's on the topic of poverty in the United States, but it's a different understanding of poverty as far as where poverty is located than what most of us in the United States think about when it comes to, well, where does poverty typically show up within the context of any given community. And that is that over the past decade, over the past 10 years, we're starting to see a shift. Actually, I say starting, it's already happened, that there's been a shift in the understanding that poverty has really been growing in the suburban context within the United States. Now that's typically different from what most of us typically think about when it comes to poverty. We obviously see and know and experience poverty in many of our urban contexts, the inner city area and our cities. But some things have been happening over the past decade, and it's not just been people moving into the suburbs that are in poverty and so in bringing poverty with them as they come, but it's families that are going through transitions and things of that nature. And the reason that this is important is because of the ministry implications that it provides opportunities, if you will, for us as a faith family to begin to think about how do we do ministry within a suburban context, because our congregation is within a suburban context, and we need to begin to think through some of these things. So, for example, just recently this article came out from the Atlantic Cities by Emily Badger. It's called the Suburbanization of Poverty, if you want to look it up and find out. But basically in this article, she makes this statement, and it's that between the year 2000 and 2011, so over basically a 10-year period of time or so, the population living in American cities below the poverty line increased by 29%. And this was the next thing that she states here in this article is really fascinating, because I did not realize that we had reached a point whereby we're now seeing more people in the suburbs in poverty than in our cities. But listen to this here. Today, more poor people live in the suburbs, 16.4 million of them, than in U.S. cities, 13.4 million of them. And so if that is the case, then we need to begin to recognize that particularly for those of us that live within suburban contexts and serve within suburban contexts and work in suburban contexts, that the reality of poverty is around us. And one of the things that we often talk about here with our faith family is obviously going to areas of the greatest spiritual need and also physical needs as well, and whether that's on a global scale or whether that's on a local scale. And so one of the things I think we need to begin thinking about as we begin to pray and ask for the Lord to guide us in being able to effectively communicate this good news with those that are around us is that the Lord would give us opportunities to be able to see and serve those that are really living in poverty around us in a suburban context. Now, we don't really see that often around here, because their homes, their structures, they're not necessarily all falling down and crumbling and things of that nature. And part of that is because that this shift has been really a recent shift. And so the structures are there in place, but behind closed doors, there are families that are struggling, and behind closed doors, there are families that are going through difficult times. The other component to this that is going to be a challenge, I believe, if things continue in this direction across the United States in our suburban context, is the issue of the suburbs were never designed for poverty. In other words, when you begin to look at our cities and our inner city context, we have structures, we have organizations, we have public transportation, we have places where people that are living in poverty can walk from point A to point B to get to social assistance or helps or things of that nature. The suburbs were never developed for that. I mean, if you go back in the United States history, you see the suburban context developed as a result of people having automobiles. And so we don't have those structures in place. And so as followers of Christ in the context, we may begin to find that the days for opportunity for us to engage our neighbors on a level of just helping them, assisting them in things related to transportation or getting from point A to point B, those opportunities may very much be alive and well and around us if we just begin to look and begin to pray about those opportunities. So I hope this episode of Multiplication Matters has got you thinking about maybe some shifts that are happening within the United States and have been taking place over the last decade that are affecting the way we do ministry and will continue to affect the way we do ministry as we see the multiplication of disciples and leaders in churches across this country, in particular within our suburban context as well.
Join us next time for another installment of Multiplication Matters with Dr. J.D. Payne.